In this training, we're going to take a look at how you can use multiple functions inside of the same formula to produce a more robust output for yourself. If that's of interest, stick around and let's get into it. Using multiple functions inside of the same formula is definitely getting a little more complicated, but if you're starting to feel a little comfortable with your formulas at present, let's start combining multiple formulas and writing them all together into one big formula by using multiple functions all at the same time. So we're going to actually start with a simple example that we created previously in another training. We were looking at an estimated value, an actual contract value, and then we wanted to calculate the variance. But if you recall, in some cases, we had an estimated value, but we didn't have an actual contract value. And in these particular instances, we were calculating a variance that really made no sense. We didn't really have a variance because we don't know the actual contract value, and so it didn't really quite work that we said the variance here is minus 65,000 because the actual contract value was unknown. Maybe we lost the deal, or maybe in fact, the deal is still in progress and we don't quite know the actual value just yet. So how do we build a better formula? Well, we want to say only if we have the estimated value and the actual contract value do we want to then calculate the difference between the two fields. It makes no sense to calculate the difference if we don't have both values already. So how can we do this? Well, let's actually take this one step at a time before we go to combine multiple functions. I find it to be easiest if we break it down one function at a time and then take those functions, bundle them up together into one masterful formula. So I already have my variance formula here, right? I can double click into here and drill in and look at my simple formula that's taking my actual contract value, subtracting my estimated value, and it's good to go. Now let's also move this to the advanced editor so we can see it in the way it's actually being written in the formula syntax. Actual contract value, that's the field, minus estimated value field. So this is the first formula and it's working great. The first function is off to the races. So I'm happy with this. But how do we calculate the logic? Well, let's look up another formula field here. We'll bring it in a new field and I'll call this my logic component. And again, I'm just using this as a placeholder for now. But I want to build the logic that says, do I have the estimated value and the actual contract value, or do I not? So I'm going to go to the advanced editor for this. Now, what I want to look for is the if statement. If I have both of these things, then I'm happy and I want to say, yes, let's move forward. And if I don't have both of these things, then I don't want to do anything. So let's just write a simple if formula. The if formula is our logical component that says if the conditions are met. So what are those conditions? Well, I'm looking for both things to exist, estimated value and the actual contract value. So both of them must exist simultaneously. That is an AND operator. So inside of my if operator, I've now added the AND operator. So what are my AND conditions? Well, both things must exist. So I'm looking for the estimated value. I can start typing and just bring it right in here, use that element, comma, to separate it because I want another piece as well, and the other piece is going to be the actual. So let's bring in the actual contract value here, and there we are. So inside of these parentheses, this first section right here, I've written an AND formula that says and the estimated value and the contract value, the actual value. So if both of those things exist, then something is going to happen inside of my if operator. So here's where I can bring in my if conditions. So I might say yes. And if that's not the case, I might say no. So now I have all of my pieces built out. Now, if you're not comfortable using all of these operators, please go and watch the training where we go into detail about how you can find the different operators and how you can start practicing with them. But here I am, I've combined two different operators, the AND function here. I'm saying if both of these things exist, then I will output yes. And if they both don't exist simultaneously, then I will output no. So let's make sure that this is working properly. Let's add this field and cross our fingers and look at our results. So here I have a logic component output of no. I can look and see that I have an estimated value, but I don't have my actual contract value. So no is what we would expect. But here I have my estimated value and my actual contract value, so yes is what we would expect. So we can see that everywhere that we have a yes, we have both elements that we're looking for, and everywhere that we have a no, we don't have anything. Now let's take this just a step further, because in the case where I don't have both elements, I don't actually want to output anything, right? If I don't have an estimated value and I don't have an actual contract value, then I don't want to do anything. So can I go back in here and remove no? Well, let's see. If I just cut out that last piece and update the field, SmartSuite says, well, something's wrong in the formula. So again, use this to your advantage so that you can go in and make changes and understand how these formula syntaxes work. I can go back in and add that element again. So let's go ahead and pop this back in as no, and I'll be just fine by updating the field. But now I want to take this a step further. I want to, instead of outputting text here, I want to actually output what I want to see. What is the variance? Well, in our case, I want to drop into the variance calculation, and I'll just copy this formula, and I'm going to go ahead and move out of here and drop this piece. Instead of saying yes at the end, I want to actually perform the calculation, right? That's the whole purpose of this. If my conditions are met, then I want to calculate the variance. But you notice I get a little flag here that says, hold on, you've got an if and a number and a text. They can't all participate in an expression together. So what that's saying is I can't include an output of a number and then have another output of text. My output either has to always be a number, always be a yes, no, or always be text. So I better change my calculation here. Instead of saying no, I'll just say 0. The variance is 0 because I don't have all the information. And as soon as I do that, well, now I have everything outputting as a number, and my little red flag is removed. So let's update the field, cross our fingers one more time that we got it right, and everything looks pretty good. We can see that where we previously had a variance of negative 65,000, we don't have a variance anymore. And that's because we don't have to worry about that element at all, because we don't have the actual contract value. But everywhere that we do have both pieces of information from the logical operator, that is the estimated value and the actual contract value, well, then we're calculating the variance. So this is exactly how we can use multiple functions inside of the same formula to drive an output. And again, if you're newer to this, just take it one step at a time. You have the ability to just break it down into small pieces, as we did here on this training. One piece at a time is going to get you closer to the results you want, and before you know it, you'll be writing these formulas without even thinking. I know we covered a lot in this video, so feel free to go back and rewatch, and I will see you in the next training. If you have any questions about what we covered in this training, please ask them below in the comments section of this video. And until then, we'll see you in the next training.